This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
The whole world of medicine has changed.
This is the biggest thing having to do with drugs in the history of the purchase of drugs.
Homeless people get very proprietary about where they live.
Helping others, giving to others, that's the Christmas spirit.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Electrical outage. Pennsylvania and New York are in the top 12 nationwide for power outages, all because of that wind. Family Life's Mark Webster covers it for us.
Yes, Sarah, at last count, over 90,000 Pennsylvania utility customers in the dark. Lancaster and Lehigh counties among the hardest hit. Over 20,000 scattered outages around New York. Nationwide, the number's over 600,000. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
The entire state of New York and all but one county in Pennsylvania under wind advisories tonight. Kevin Williams has your full forecast in 3 minutes. All that wind while today is the busiest travel day of the Christmas travel season. Reporter Meg Oliver is at Newark Airport in New Jersey.
Airlines expect a record 52.6 million passengers to pass through U.S. airports this holiday season. American Airlines says today will be its busiest travel day, operating more than 6,700 flights.
Drug prices are coming down. President Trump just wrapped up a press conference on it.
This is the biggest thing having to do with drugs in the history of the purchase of drugs.
He says we've been subsidizing drug prices for the entire world, and that's about to stop.
Starting next year, American drug prices will come down fast and furious and will soon be among the lowest in the developed world. So in other words, whatever the lowest price for a certain drug, we will get the lowest price anywhere in the world. If they're lower in England than they are in Germany, we take the England price.
Fox News senior medical analyst Dr. Mark Siegel says there is an imbalance globally for the same drugs.
If you take the other nations in the world that have similar economic stature as us, we pay 3 times as more for medications than they do. 3 times more on average, and in many cases, it's much more than that.
He says today's meeting is significant because Trump has some of the biggest drug makers in the world in that room.
Coming to the table today, you're going to have Merck, you're going to have Gilead, you're going to have Novartis, which is a huge drug manufacturer. Merck, makes Gardasil. Merck makes a lot of drugs for immunotherapy. Keytruda, which is a groundbreaking drug Merck makes. So this is a big day.
14 of the 17 largest drug companies are on board with the changes. Crime solved. A homeless man was the key to cracking the case. In the Brown University shooting, the gunman has been found dead after being tracked by a homeless guy. Former investigator Paul Morrow says the shooting happened above the homeless man's living space.
He was remarkably observant, and I can tell you, homeless people get very proprietary about where they live, whether it's a cardboard box or a doorway. And I think that's one of the reasons why he took it upon himself to do a better job of security, frankly, than the Brown security was doing. They followed this guy. He marked the car. He knew it was a sedan. He actually got the make and model. And that was really the break in this case.
That gunman was a Portuguese national and studied at Brown in 2000. He came to the country through a diversity lottery immigrant visa program, but dropped out and stayed here.
How is it that he was still here after dropping out of Brown? The Trump administration almost certainly is going to be looking at a very hard audit of how these student visas are issued and how they're monitored, because very clearly something went sideways here.
2 students were killed and 9 wounded in that shooting. Secretary of State Marco Rubio held an end-of-year news conference today.
Whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or India and Pakistan, or Thailand and Cambodia, or the tragedy we see now in Sudan, Armenia and Azerbaijan, we are always looking for opportunities, if possible, to play the role of a mediator that brings about the avoidance of war or the ending of conflicts.
Rubio was asked by the press to outline the next phase of the peace plan in Gaza. He said it all rests on Hamas setting down its weapons.
If Hamas is ever in a position in the future that they can threaten or attack Israel, you're not going to have peace. Okay, you're not going to convince anyone to invest money in Gaza if they believe another war is going to happen in 2 to 3 years.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul and the Premier of Ontario, Canada, signed an agreement today to collaborate on advanced nuclear energy technology. The two leaders met in Erie County and laid out a framework that includes building full-size nuclear reactors. To the south, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright is expounding on his desire to reopen 3 Mile Island outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
What we're doing right now by accelerating this is accelerating a force that will drive down electricity prices and help make sure America leads in the AI race against China.
Wright says the nuclear power at 3 Mile Island is strong enough to provide energy for AI data centers.
AI is going to be transformative technology, but we can't be second place. If China is well ahead of the United States in AI, they will become economically and militarily the dominant power in the world.
He wants to have the plant fully operational again as an energy powerhouse by 2027. And Christmas is the season of giving. And in one Niagara County, New York community, that includes Christmas trees. With usual tree sales winding down, Treetop Acres in Cambria has been giving away its remaining stock of pre-cut trees for whatever those needing a tree can pay, even if it's nothing. Owners Patrick and Elizabeth Barsis tell WKBW.
Helping others, giving to others, that's the Christmas spirit.
We just thought it would be a nice thing to do to make sure they had a good home. We did a pay what you can sign. We had a lovely person leave us a really delicious pie from a local bake shop. We've gotten some plants.
To give back a little bit is a huge part of what we're trying to do here.
They've even been making house calls to deliver them at no charge. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, state-sanctioned suicide, Supreme Court picks in Pennsylvania, and democratic socialism. Our Capital Connection team ticks off the top stories of 2025 after weather.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Williams with a check of your family life regional weather forecast. Well, the day started with a hint of early spring, but the thaw is through. The front has passed, the temperatures have tumbled, and winter weather has come roaring back, and it will be with us for a little while. The call for tonight: blustery this evening, winds subsiding overnight, much colder than last night. We'll have some areas of lake snow and flurries mainly this evening, small accumulations additionally in the snow belts east of the lakes, a little elsewhere. Those gusty winds subside a bit and the temperatures tumble to about 20. Watch for slippery spots. Tomorrow, clouds break for some sunshine, high temps in the 30s. Sunday, mostly cloudy, brisk and turning colder again with a bit of snow or some flurries. Temperatures Sunday starting in the 30s, then dropping into the 20s.
Thank you, Kevin. Watch out for that wind tonight if you're outside or on the road. Next at 5, the year's biggest state stories with our Men in the Know. New York families Jason McGuire and PA families Michael Gear. Let's listen in.
So let's get to it. Now, number 2, down to the final 2. What were the top 2 news stories of the year? Michael, let's stay in Harrisburg. What did you have on your list?
I'm going to say the late state budget, which is becoming kind of old news, or old hat, I guess, a habit of the legislature here. They don't care about that constitutional deadline, apparently.
Yeah.
But the positive in that budget, and this was part of the standoff, was that we avoided the bullet of legalization of commercial sale of marijuana for yet another year. So that was a good thing, even though we had a late budget.
Yeah, saving PA from pot was on my list. I know it's a fight you have been fighting for years, Michael. Unfortunately, Jason, you haven't been able to win that fight in New York. It's legal. But what did you have as the second biggest story this year in New York State?
Well, this is a story that is very important to our organization and maybe isn't, as Michael referenced an earlier story, not getting as much play as it should, and that's the issue of state-sanctioned suicide. It's going to have a great impact on what happens with end-of-life issues in our state. The whole world of medicine has changed because now you've fractured the relationship between the patient and the doctor. And so this issue of assisted suicide is a major issue late in 2025.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's a huge one. I had that number 1 on my list this year in New York State. Michael, here we are. The biggest story, the most impactful event of the past 12 months in Pennsylvania. So many major issues this year, but if you had to settle on one, what would be your choice as the biggest story of 2025?
Well, I think I chose this one as number one because it takes us into 2026 as well, and that was the off-year elections, not only the Supreme Court elections and what rulings will come from this liberal Supreme Court, but also then what we saw in sweeps of school boards and other things. Many Pennsylvanians were just not awake or aware of the need to be involved and engaged in elections, and hopefully 2026, they'll see what happened in 2025 and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to roll up my sleeves, I'm going to get engaged in the political realm.
Yeah, don't sit this one out, guys. Don't sit it out. Too much at stake. Here we are, Jason. I could say it as well as I did with Michael. There were so many major events this year in New York State, in Albany in particular, at the state capitol. But if you had to pick just one, what would be your choice as the most significant news item of 2025?
I think it's the foothold that democratic socialism is making here in the Empire State. That was seen most clearly with the election of New York City mayoral-elect Zohran Mamdani, just the last election cycle, and he will soon be coming in to see what he will do now that he will be the mayor. But it isn't just about one man. This is something we've seen in the legislature. We're watching Democrats that are now have a major portion of their party as becoming this democratic socialist, or at least leans that direction. And that is going to shake up politics in our state house here in the year to come and years to come. And it's going to change a lot of Americans' lives if socialism gains much more of a foothold in this country.
Well, here we are, guys, at the end of the year. And as we celebrate the holidays and look forward to another year, you guys are looking forward to what's coming up. And, of course, a major election, the midterms, control of Congress at stake, a number of governorships at stake as well in both New York and Pennsylvania. What are the issues you're going to be paying close attention to, Michael, in 2026?
Well, we're going to be doing a lot of education here in Pennsylvania about the issue of physician-assisted suicide, as it's called, because we know that it's a train that is coming. We see the challenges there in the state of New York, and Pennsylvania is not immune to that.
Yeah. Jason, it's been a challenging year for you, but as you and your organization kind of shakes the dust off of 2025, what are you looking ahead to in 2026 as the major issues you'll be tackling?
Yeah, some years more than others, you're anxious to kind of put behind you. And I think 2025 is one of those.
Yeah.
And yet it's a platform that God has allowed us. And we see 2026 as a year of transformational growth for our organization. And I think two major things that we're going to see in the coming year. One is we do have elections this year, and they're going to be enormous for which direction our state goes. But in addition to that, I think there's a desire to see a greater Christian witness. I was at the Capitol just last week, and there was the so-called holiday tree there, and there was the menorah, and there was a Kwanzaa item as well, but there was not a nativity set. We couldn't even call it a Christmas tree. And, I think that it just demonstrates how in public life, we just don't have a whole lot of Christian witness. And organizationally, we want to be encouraging people to be courageous in their witness in the coming year. And that's another thing we'll be working on in 2026.
Amen.
That's New York Family's Jason McGuire and PA Family's Michael Gear with their top stories of 2025. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Capital Connection and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
When it comes to earning a living, Scripture holds two truths in beautiful tension. Hi, I'm Rob West with another Faith and Finance Minute. Deuteronomy 8:18 reminds us, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." Our work is the means, but never the source. A farmer plants and tends the soil, but only God sends the rain. Fishermen cast their nets, but it's the Lord who fills them. We labor faithfully using the gifts He's given, yet every harvest, every paycheck, every opportunity comes by His hand. So work diligently, but trust completely. Your effort matters, but your security rests in Him. When we see work as worship and God as provider, every task becomes an opportunity to thank the one who gives all good things. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, a man went to a bakery and picked up a croissant, a coffee, and his long-lost mother. That story after weather.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Williams with a check of your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, the day started with a hint of early spring, but the thaw is through. The front has passed, the temperatures have tumbled, and winter weather has come roaring back, and it will be with us for a little while. The call for tonight, blustery this evening. Winds subsiding overnight, much colder than last night. We'll have some areas of lake snow and flurries, mainly this evening. Small accumulations additionally in the snow belts east of the lakes, little elsewhere. Those gusty winds subside a bit and the temperatures tumble to about 20. Watch for slippery spots. Tomorrow, clouds break for some sunshine, high temps in the 30s. Sunday, mostly cloudy, brisk and turning colder again with a bit of snow or some flurries. Temperatures Sunday starting in the 30s, then dropping into the 20s.
All right, Kevin, finally at 5, a mother-son bakery reunion story is set to become a Netflix movie.
We decided that we are superstars. Are we superstars? Yeah. We're superstars.
You're a superstar.
They just finished it last week in Chicago, which is exciting. So we were on the movie set.
Here's the plot. A man named Lamar falls in love with a Chicago bakery. He loves the food and he loves talking to the owner, Lenore Lindsay. Years later, Lamar takes a genetic test and finds out that the owner is in fact his birth mother. And the whole story is true.
People feel a certain way because of our story, and that's just been the most awesome part about it. People have been, they've been sharing in our joy.
It's kind of a giving people hope and a reason to smile because, they can look at this and go, yeah, there's still, some good things happening.
The Netflix film 'Tis So Sweet is set for release next year, just before Thanksgiving. And that's the world that we live in for Friday, the 19th of December. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.